There's also a 128 gig version of this phone outside of the US that's even cheaper. It does not have wireless charging like I mentioned earlier, but it does add back NFC. The last CMF phone did not have that. This one does, so it can do contactless payments and all that good stuff. The haptics are pretty good. The single speaker on the bottom is terrible, but it also is IP54 rated, so it can get splashed and be fine. And then there is a 5,000 milliamp hour battery, which for a phone this thin, I feel like is actually pretty impressive. It's also 33 watt charging, and battery life has been very good. And then of course on the back, there's our triple cameras, because it wouldn't be a pro phone without triple cameras. Now if you're thinking, all right, it's a cheap phone, so there's pretty much no chance the cameras are actually really good, but they're probably just good enough in regular lighting to get a pass, and maybe the triple cameras are kind of just a stunt to get people to see it as more pro. And then you'd be right. The primary camera is a 50 megapixel sensor with no OIS, and yeah, it's fine. Don't expect to have your mind blown. It works, but like I said, some pink casting, it's not going to do any miracles, not a lot of depth of field or fast shutter speeds because of the lack of OIS. The telephoto is also only 2x, so it's not a huge zoom, and it's also on a much smaller sensor, so it's sacrificing a lot of light and quality for not a lot of zoom. And then the ultra wide is in fact much wider than the main camera, so that's good. But it's also a tiny sensor and it's just 8 megapixels, so it's just kind of more of a fun to have, which I'll accept. I'm glad it has an ultra wide at all. But between the software and the display, and then all the fun choices they've made with the modularity, it's a great fun phone, but it almost makes me wonder what it would have been like if there was a genuinely high-end version of this available too. And then I think, maybe we've already seen that. I don't know if you remember the Moto Z back a couple years ago with the Moto mods. That was kind of similar, attaching things to the back of the phone that were fun and functional and gave it real character. In the meantime though, for $279, I honestly wish this had like all of the bands in the US, because this would be even easier to recommend if it did. But especially elsewhere, I think this is the best budget phone out this year. I'm a fan. There's been a lot of action in like the mid-range phone price, like the $400 space, the iPhone 16e, the Pixel 9a, everything in there. But for sub 300, this is where it's at.